Okay, so let's unpack this. You know that feeling, right? When you see something and it looks so familiar, like something you definitely know, but maybe just a little bit different. And there's that little nagging feeling.
Yeah, that moment where it's like recognition, but also confusion.
It is,
Make you pause, look again.
exactly. So our deep dive today comes from these really interesting notes someone shared, a gardener, actually, who had this exact thing happen.
Okay.
They found this plant, and it looked, well, strikingly like the common crown of thorns, Euphorbia Milii,
Mhm.
pretty common plant.
Oh, yeah, garden staple. You see it around, this bright, well, they look like flowers, the bracts.
Right, so the gardener's first thought, according to these notes anyway, was that this was Euphorbia Milii, simple enough, but it seemed to have these unusually large flowers, or petals, as they first perceived them.
Ah, okay. So bigger, showier than the usual millie.
That's what they thought, yeah, like a kind of enhanced version.
So that visual cue, the apparent flower size, that's what jumped out first, according to the notes.
Exactly. So the big question we're tackling in this deep dive, based on this gardener's notes and their sort of investigation,
Yeah.
is what was this plant, really? And maybe more importantly, what does this little case of mistaken identity teach us about, well, paying attention to the details?
It's a great example, yeah. Just from looking closely at a plant. The notes show the gardener did start looking closer. They mentioned seeing these prominent, sharp spines, grayish-brown ones, covering the stem.
Fine, okay.
And they even measured them. Some were up to an inch long.
An inch long. Wow. Okay, that sounds exactly like the classic Euphorbia Milii, doesn't it? Based on the notes. So
Yeah.
seeing those spines, did they just think, okay, yep, definitely Millie?
Well, you'd think so. It seems obvious at that point. But this is where the notes get really interesting. Because despite those definite millie-like spines, their further digging revealed something else. The notes confirmed the plant wasn't some large-flowered millie variety at all. It was actually Euphorbia Geroldii.
Geroldii. Huh. Okay, so a totally different species, not just a variation.
Correct. The notes are really clear on that. It's a distinct species.
Yeah.
And here's the really fascinating twist the source reveals, completely flipping that first impression about the flowers. Euphorbia Geroldii actually has smaller flowers than Euphorbia Milii.
Hold on. Smaller. They thought they looked larger, but the plant they actually found, this Geroldii, it has smaller flowers.
Exactly. Smaller. It just completely turns that initial visual guess upside down.
Wow.
The notes really highlight how, a quick glance can be so misleading, especially if you think you recognize something. And then the notes point out another key difference, and this is almost ironic given the spines the gardener first focused on. Euphorbia Geroldii. Its common name is pretty descriptive. It's often called the Thornless Crown of Thorns.
Thornless Crown of Thorns. Okay, well, that tells you quite a bit right there.
Yeah.
So the plant they found, the Geroldii, is known for not having thorns, even though the gardener initially saw those quite big spines that made them think of the really thorny Millie.
Precisely. It's quite the contrast. The notes emphasize that while Millie has those very obvious, sharp, long spines you described, Geroldii typically has either really small, kind of insignificant thorns, or often none at all.
So the gardener maybe saw a few small ones and zeroed in on them, thinking spines equal thighs.
It seems like it, yeah. They focused on a feature that resembled Millii, but maybe didn't register the overall lack of the typical Millie armament, so to speak.
What's really powerful about these notes, I think, is how this one example shows that a broader point the source makes. Misidentification happens all the time. Even with things that look, pretty similar. You have to look past the surface.
Absolutely. You need to look at everything the notes suggest. Flower size, yes, but also spine presence, spine type, leaf shape, how it grows, not just the first one or two things that catch your eye. It's about the whole picture.
Right. So let's recap. What does this all mean then?
Right.
Based on these gardener's notes, the plant that looked like a big flowered, super thorny Euphorbia Milii was actually Euphorbia Geroldii.
A distinct species.
With smaller flowers and, ironically, known for having few or no big thorns. So the initial impression was off on two major points.
Yeah, it really underscores how vital that detailed observation is, especially when something feels familiar. Just relying on that general looks like feeling, it can easily lead you down the wrong path.
It definitely makes you think. And it raises a bigger question, maybe for you listening. Where else in your life, maybe at work, or just understanding things around you, might something you've kind of dismissed as just a slight variation of the usual actually be something entirely different, something distinct, just waiting for you to take that closer look?
Definitely something to mull over.